Hey guys, it's Carl. Today I'm gonna do a quick tutorial on how to install and set up the PlayStation 3 emulator. Hey guys, this is Editing Carl. I just want to say don't download the newest version of the software. It causes a lot of bugs and a bunch of my games just stopped working. I'm going to leave a description. I'm gonna leave a link in the description to download a older one that I know works. It's from the 27th of March 2018. And then yeah, just follow the rest of the guide and sorted, as you can see. And then you want to go to their quick start guide. Here they explain a bunch of stuff, minimum requirements, blah blah blah, and that you need the newest PlayStation firmware, which they have a link to somewhere. I'll link that in the description as well. But when you go to this link, it'll take you to the normal PlayStation, the Sony side for PlayStation firmwares. And you just click this download. It'll be the latest version. It should probably still be this. It hasn't received an update in like a couple of months. But you download this, and then when both of those things are done, you should be fine. You need to go make a random folder somewhere. You do need a lot of hard drive space for this. So make sure you make this folder somewhere where you have a lot of space. As you can see, mine is on my D drive, program files, emulators, PlayStation 3. Then you want to open this file that you downloaded. Extract all of this to said file that you created. And you can close this. This will open the first time you run this, blah blah blah, not really important. Just say I have read. You can say don't show this again if you want. Then say file, install firmware, and then go look for where you have that firmware saved. Click open, it'll install the firmware. It should be relatively quickly. Okay, it'll say the firmware has been installed, that's fine, and it'll run through a bunch of stuff that it needs to run setup for. Okay, now that that's finished, some basic setups things that you have to do is go to configuration, click CPU. It doesn't matter because you can select all of these things. Here you leave this on LLVM recompiler, and you leave this on that recompiler. For threads, you should change this to 1 or 2. If the game doesn't run well on 2, change it to 1. Lower is better technically. Here you should change this to load libraries automatically, and then you hit save. What you can also just check is GPU. OpenCL works. I've found that Vulkan works based on 900 and 10 series graphics cards from NVIDIA. Leave default resolution at 720p. It doesn't really work well with 1080p because most games on PS3 didn't natively run 1080p. It just upscaled from 720p. If the game still has errors at 720p, lower the resolution to 420p. They do say this in the description there at the bottom when you hover over resolution. The next thing you want to do is on the site they have a guide on how to, in Quick Start, they have a guide on how to rip your PlayStation 3 discs and how to make them into the installation file and everything. And then they tell you about these IRD files that you need to put into your file when you compile it. Sometimes you do need a fixed file for installing the game because the regions get completely destroyed and it doesn't necessarily recognize your region because this is an emulator, not an actual PlayStation 3. I will have a link to fixes down below as well. Now that when you've done this, you go to install PKG and then you go to where you've saved your games that you created now. The fixed files, as you can see, pretty small. So I've done God of War 1. You click open, you install it. Okay, now that the game is installed, you can test the game and then you can see if it plays. But I know for a fact this one hasn't. This one doesn't work because I've tested it before. Then you go install PKG again, click the fix, install the fix. This should be almost instantly, and now it's done. Now you can test the game, see if it runs. It should run on the settings we configured earlier. If it doesn't, lower the resolution and keep the rest the same. It should be all fine. Next thing you want to do is configure your controller. So you make sure your controller is plugged in. For PlayStation controllers, it should just work. So you can test the game, see if the controls work. If they don't, then come remap it. So you'll hit configure, pads. You'll change player 1 to joystick. And then you'll hit configure. I'm using an Xbox controller, so I have to remap this because it doesn't work straight off the bat. You'll click on the thing you want to remap and then hit the button on the controller. As you can see, my D-pad is correctly configured. The analog stick is not. It's inverted for some reason. These I would recommend leaving alone because that messes with the sensitivity and when the controls activate or not. And then you just remap all of the keys on whichever controller you're using. You hit save and you should be ready to go. And then you can just install as many games as your hard drive allows or that you have. So as you guys can see, I've installed 2 games now. Once the configuration is set up, all you do is you say right click, boot, or you can hit this boot button and then the game should launch. It might stutter a bit in some of the intros like this, especially if you're running something that uses your graphics card in the background. For some reason it's pretty intense. This is also me running this on a non-recommended CPU. Mine is a pretty old i5 that's not in the minimum spec technically, but it should still run fine as long as it's a decent i5 or i7 from an older generation. And then I hope you guys enjoy playing your PlayStation 3 games. Thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you for the next tutorial.